Jimmy Garoppolo is a major question for the 49ers faithful. Back in 2017, the 49ers started 1-10, then acquired Garoppolo, who then went 5-0 to finish out the season. The question seemed to be answered after that midseason trade, and following the end of the season, the 49ers promptly paid him franchise quarterback money. Locking in Garoppolo appeared to solve their problem and continue their organization's development and positive trajectory. As 2018 began, the 49ers' optimism was sky high. That optimism fell flat on its face with a disappointing 1-2 start, followed by a season-ending torn ACL. The 49ers believed that Garoppolo brought franchise quarterback qualities, that he's a quarterback who can deliver wins and elevate a below-average roster, a player who doesn't need a star receiver, rock-solid offensive line, or devastating defense to win games. You can look at Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, or Russell Wilson as examples, and at the end of 2017, Garoppolo looked like that kind of a quarterback, a player who can make chicken salad out of chicken scraps. To understand how Garoppolo fits into this offense, we first need a better understanding of Kyle Shanahan's offensive philosophy and how the two mesh together. Kyle Shanahan's complex offensive system is based on 3 pillars: personnel mismatching, yards after the catch, and short, accurate passes. Let's start with Shanahan's personnel mismatch. Shanahan creates personnel groups that are incredibly multiple to keep the defense off balance. He uses motions and shifts within these personnel groupings to tip the defense's hand pre-snap so that the quarterback will have an easier time identifying the defense's coverage and scheme. Shanahan values versatility and requires his players to be able to play multiple positions. His running backs can line up in the slot, his receivers can block and carry the ball, and his tight ends can do all of the above. A defense adheres to very specific rules that are based on how the offense lines up. Offensive personnel dictates defensive personnel. With Shanahan coaching his players to play roles outside of those traditional positions, defenses struggle to adapt, which leads to mismatches the 49ers hope Garoppolo will exploit. This puts slower defenders in space or out of position, which creates mismatches within the defense and creates easier coverage reads for the quarterback. Despite this, Garoppolo still found himself struggling in 2018. Here is a great example of Shanahan's first pillar of offensive philosophy in action: personnel mismatching. We are in week 1 and in the red zone during a crucial part of the game, fourth quarter with 8:17 left on the game clock. It's 3rd and 4, and the Niners are losing 24-13. A touchdown here brings the Niners within 3 points and pressures the Vikings offense to execute on their next drive. To begin the play, the Vikings have 3 cornerbacks matched up across from the Niners' 3 wide receivers. This muddies Garoppolo's pre-snap read. The defense could still be in man or zone when a cornerback is outside on a wide receiver. When running back Alfred Morris motions to the outside of the formation and cornerback Xavier Rhodes follows him, he is forcing the Vikings to signal whether they're in zone defense. When a corner is outside on a non-wide receiver, the defense is almost always in zone. This clarifies the picture of the defense for Garoppolo, which tells him that George Kittle's skinny post, or bang 8 route, will likely be open since the Vikings cover 3 zone has positioned free safety Andrew Vandejo in the middle third and is shaded to the strong side of the formation. You can see that there is a vacated bubble in the deep part of the end zone on the backside seam. Tight end George Kittle attacks safety Harrison Smith's outside shoulder and leverage to get him to open his hips to the boundary, then cuts upfield into the seam. Garoppolo wastes a wide open touchdown opportunity and sails the ball into the seats. The thing you need to understand about how cover 3 zone is played is the outside deep third cornerback, Mike Hughes, will keep the number 1 receiver vertical. But if the number 1 runs a route underneath, Hughes will make an undercall, which switches his priority to the number 2 receiver. As the play starts, the number 1 runs underneath, so Hughes makes an undercall and drops outside of Kittle. If safety Harrison Smith wasn't so focused on Kittle, he might have read wide receiver Pierre Garçon coming underneath, which tells him he has help from the outside. He could have then stayed inside and over the top of Kittle and been in better position to defend the skinny post. The second pillar of the system is yards after catch, which requires the quarterback to deliver the ball accurately and on time so that the receiver doesn't break his stride, puts his lead foot in the ground, and pivots upfield. It is imperative that the quarterback deliver an accurate ball out in front of the receiver, in between the belt buckle and the receiver's numbers, so that the receiver does not break stride and can continue running at full speed. Here's a great example of all three pillars working into one play. It's 2nd and 7, Shanahan sends out 21 personnel, which is 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and 2 wide receivers. This is where Shanahan's personnel mismatching offensive philosophy comes into play. Normally, this personnel grouping tells the defense the offense is likely to run the ball, especially when a fullback is in the game. Shanahan has also trotted out blocking tight end Garrett Selleck, which is another signal for run, who is also split out as a wide receiver at the bottom of the screen. When Shanahan does this, he is doing so to give his quarterback a crystal clear read on what the defense is planning. When a running back, fullback, or tight end are lined up on the outside, the quarterback looks to see who the defense sends to match up. After seeing which positions are matched up with a safety, linebacker, or cornerback, the quarterback knows whether he's facing man or zone coverage. When safety number 32, Tavon Wilson, runs out to cover Juszczyk, this informs Garoppolo the Lions are in man coverage. From here, based on the alignment of the rest of the defense, it's safe to assume man coverage across the board with a deep safety playing the middle third of the field, aka cover one man with 5 blitzers. Now that Garoppolo has a clear picture of the defense's plan, he audibles to a classic man beater, a mesh rub concept to free Garcon in the left flat. The thing you should know about a mesh rub concept is that it's designed to pick off a trailing defender in man coverage. Ideally, Alfred Morris makes legal contact with the man defender who's in a trail technique on wide receiver Garcon. Morris misses the point of contact, but Garcon still has decent separation. But Garoppolo fails to maximize the play's yards after catch potential by delivering a pass slightly behind Garcon instead of out in front, so the receiver cannot gain the necessary yards. Heck, this is basically set up to be a screenplay with blockers downfield. Once Garcon frees up in the flat, Juszczyk is already setting a block. Instead of an explosive 30-yard play, the pass results in only 5 yards gained. On the following play, on 3rd and 2, the Niners fail to convert and are forced to punt. This offensive system requires accurate passing to produce yards after the catch. You and I both know Garoppolo has to put this ball out in front of the receiver to move the sticks, but he inexplicably just doesn't do it and the Niners end up punting. On what would have been an easy completion with a clear pre-snap picture of the defense, Garoppolo can't capitalize. These types of passes pop up way too often on his film. This is what separates great football teams from average ones. The great ones do not leave plays or extra yardage on the field. This leads into Shanahan's third pillar, which ties right in with yards after the catch. Short, accurate passes that set up the receiver to maximize extra yards after the point of the catch, which all ties directly into Shanahan's system and the West Coast offense as a whole. This is a great example of how Garoppolo struggling with these short passes can become complete and utter drive killers. Down 24-13 in the fourth quarter, to begin the drive, the Niners are looking for a short completion to put them in a manageable second down situation. The Vikings present man-to-man coverage pre-snap, based on the press alignment of each of the defensive backs and the receivers, and the strong safety Harrison Smith following George Kittle in motion. Garoppolo can feel pretty certain from this pre-snap look that the defense is in man coverage, the perfect situation for Garoppolo to choose which matchup to exploit. Shanahan calls all slants, or a tosser concept on each side, which is just another way of saying 2 slants. So, all the quarterback has to do is select the correct matchup and get the ball out quickly while reading the defense's coverage without locking onto one receiver. Garoppolo decides pre-snap he's going to target the backside slants away from the linebackers and deep safety. The correct read would be to target slot receiver Trent Taylor, who is one-on-one with safety corner Jaron Kearse, who is in this game only because he was forced in due to injury to cornerback Trey Waynes. Garoppolo instead elects to target rookie Dante Pettis, who is playing in his first NFL game ever against all-pro cornerback Xavier Rhodes. Garoppolo locks onto Pettis too early, and his poor decision is compounded by an inaccurate throw, all while missing the wide-open Taylor and an easy 7-yard gain. Shanahan uses each of these 3 pillars in his game plan, and it's essential for the quarterback and team to capitalize on the offensive philosophy laid out by the head coach. If Garoppolo can develop more consistency, similar to what he showed at the end of 2017, we'll know that he is clicking with the 3 pillars of Shanahan's offense. The jury is still out on Garoppolo. Up until this point in his career, he has played fewer games and thrown fewer passes than first-year starter Baker Mayfield, who didn't even have his first start until week 4 last year. Our picture of Garoppolo remains incomplete. He's inexperienced with the intricacies of the quarterback position, with the rest of the 49ers, and with Kyle Shanahan's offensive scheme. Leading into year 3 with this team, we still don't really know who Jimmy Garoppolo is as a quarterback. In 2017, we saw him create plays and elevate a subpar roster, while the following season he missed easy throws and left plays on the field. Kyle Shanahan's system makes it simple for the quarterback. The defense is often forced to show their hand pre-snap, and receivers are often schemed wide open. 2018's film shows nothing more than an average NFL quarterback playing in a high-quality offensive scheme. Heading into 2019, if he can develop within these 3 pillars by manipulating the defense, moving his chess pieces all around the formation to give himself an easier pre-snap picture of what the defense is running, work with his receivers and deliver the football where they can maximize yards after the catch, and develop a greater consistency with the West Coast style quick passing game, then, after 5 years of drought, they'll head back to the playoffs. All things are possible for this 49ers team as they go full speed ahead into 2019.